Nat, welcome to the Healthy Hustlers podcast. How are you?
I'm so great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to
Thank you
be here chatting with you.
Oh, thank you for being here. It's been so nice to be in your energy today and in the studio with you. I have just loved, we've been connected for quite a few years now, but you're just thriving in the space at the moment in all of your work, and I just love seeing your content pop up and all the things you're doing. And it feels so fitting to have you because this, I guess, next few lots of episodes or seasons, if you want to call it, of the podcast is really about stepping into your Thrive era. And I really want to talk to you about that because you help a lot of women do that.
I'm excited. I want to talk about that too. Yeah, I mean, there's always iterations, isn't there? It's just this next version, but I think kids are a bit older, I've got a bit more time.
Yes.
Very clear, got a great team. All these things kind of allow you to sort of, I think you go through stages where you kind of, I always say you scaffold and then you grow, and then you scaffold and then you grow.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that. That's good.
Yeah, and that's what I feel like we've scaffolded. We're ready to go again.
That's awesome. That must be a really nice feeling too.
It is a nice feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you help a lot of women with their health and their hormones. What does thriving, I know you've just touched on it a little bit, but what does thriving actually mean and look like to you from a health and wellness perspective?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we're always going through phases.
Yeah.
And not only are we going through phases emotionally, but I think physically, our hormones kind of dictate to a degree what's happening. And I mean, this version of me is very different from the version of me 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I think everyone's versions obviously are very different as we grow, but there's been a lot that's happened in the last 10 years that's really been a very steep learning curve and a lot of growth around that. And, you know, right now there's a lot of I'm putting a lot of focus on my own health at the moment, just because I think I'm at an age where things become temperamental.
Yeah.
I'm always experimenting also on myself, right, so that I can actually help other people too.
I like that.
So I'm not going to go out into the world and be like, this is the greatest thing until I've actually experimented with that. And again, the iterations, like in the years where I was having children, then I could actually help women do the same. And then in the years of, you know, young children, sort of supporting them around that. Anyway, here we are, and I'm 46, and so it's just time to really focus on me. But can I tell you, there's quite a lot that goes into that. I'm like, I don't know how long that I can see why having, you know, now that my children are of a certain age, I can see how that also plays in. Like, I've got a little bit more time.
Yes.
But it's taking a lot of time
to
do
invest
that.
in yourself.
Yes.
So what would your advice, if someone's kind of listening and thinking, you know, these different variations of life and seasons of life, how do you actually get comfortable with honouring those different seasons? Because if someone isn't in a season right now where time is of the essence or they have that sense of freedom, how do we actually just honour where we're at?
Do you know, I think your body shows you, and if you can tune into that, because I think about this and I'm like, I feel like I used to be able to do things more quickly.
Okay.
And I feel like I don't do things as efficiently as I used to.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it feels like things take a lot of time. I'm not sure. But I think maybe your brain's a bit sharper. Maybe you're just better at juggling things at certain phases. Maybe you don't give it as much attention to detail, but enough is enough. I don't know. This is what I'm playing with right now in my own head. So I don't have a good answer.
Yeah.
Other than I think leaning into listening to what your body needs.
Yes.
And also I track things, and that's been quite interesting in the latest little while of getting feedback somewhere, because maybe I can't see what I can't see. Like, I know how I feel.
Okay.
And I can also tell you I got to a point last year where I felt horrible and just not like me. And I was like, is this what women talk about? Like, I don't know. And it was not for very long, but it was awful enough to go, I don't want to feel like this. This is not going to happen. Like, I don't know what I need to do to not feel like this, but I'm going to start to do things and see what makes me feel better.
Yes.
And so I changed my exercise regime, changed the way I was eating. They're probably the two main things that I really changed. And again, what you did when you were 21 no longer works when you're 46. I can definitely tell you that. And that's been profound in terms of how I feel. But it is quite interesting, the phases that we go through.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you said that you mixed up like your food and your movement or exercise, because that's actually been a big game changer for me this year. And, you know, going back to, I guess, like, or chatting about wellness and the way maybe it needs to look. For a long time, I thought I was failing when I wasn't working out in the morning. I'm just not a morning person. And I feel like the more that I've honoured that like slower mornings actually suit my body. And I've started exercising at night when the kids are asleep. So going to hot Pilates at like 7 o'clock. I come home, have the best sleep. I'm not like worried when I'm there because I'm like, the kids are home, they're already asleep, I've done the day. And it just feels so much better on my body. Whether when I was exercising in the morning, felt so hard. I'd get super fatigued in the like afternoon. And it was just like, felt like this really pointless thing. But then I was like questioning myself like, but I'm doing the things and I'm not feeling good.
I totally get that. I think, look, we have more research now that definitely shows that women definitely benefit more from training. Well, not fasted, so fed. So if you're training at the end of the day, you would have eaten several times, so you're actually training fed. That definitely is important for women. Men can train fasted and actually get results.
Yeah.
Evidence suggests women can't. So I think that's one thing that absolutely, and I'm the same as you. If I looked back and I was like, what am I doing different now that I was not before? It was that too.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So I started training last year. I was training in the mornings with my husband, which felt lovely because the kids are old enough to be at home. We can leave them; they're teenagers, and it was time together. So I really liked that. However, it was first thing in the morning, and being 6 a.m., I don't have time to eat a meal before I train. Like that was not going to happen. So that was definitely one thing that I've changed. Now I don't necessarily train at the end of the day. Yeah, I might train at like 10 o'clock.
Okay.
But again, I've got a little bit more time and flexibility and I'm fed. Right. So my mornings definitely look different and I do a lot of work with US time zones.
Okay.
So my mornings definitely look a little bit different where I'm up and I'm going and then I can fit the gym in later. But it's made a huge difference. It noticeably, both physically and mentally, in just doing that alone.
I love that. And I think it's so important, I believe, these conversations, especially for, you know, the type of women that listen to the podcast are, they're hustlers, obviously, the name of the podcast.
Right.
But I mean, you know, they are high achievers, but they also really don't want that busy lifestyle to be compromised for their health. But I think sometimes we're trying to fit a mold of what wellness and health needs to look like. And it's like, I read this article really recently, it just grabbed my attention. I think it was actually in my emails, but it was like a blog that had come through. But it grabbed my attention because it's like, this is why ice baths and 5 a.m. wake-ups are not the answer to your success. And I was like, I'm so glad that we're finally having these conversations because I feel like success was really heavily linked to wellness and health for a long time, which I believe they go hand in hand. But we're trying to fit those early wake-ups, women doing ice baths, like heavy fit workouts, all of this. And I'm like, oh, that does not feel like good for me. None of that at all. I love waking up with the kids in the morning and, you know, getting them breakfast and then jumping in the shower and getting ready. I'm like, that feels so good to me and feels abundant because it's like, feels like a bit of a sense of like, you know, freedom. I don't have to rush.
Absolutely. I couldn't
I'd love
agree
your
more.
take on that. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think one of the things I'm most passionate about is not allowing something to get to the point where it's really broken and I've got to figure out how to then fix it. And I see that happen with a lot of patients.
Okay.
Like you're at a point now where you're desperate and how can I see the warning signs and do something pretty quickly? And then how can I start to educate other women so they don't even have to get to the warning signs part? What I love, and I know this is not answering your question, but I do want to say this, is more and more people being proactive about their health from a younger age. Like I have teenagers in my office now.
That's so
and
cool.
that's obviously their parents are bringing them there.
Yes.
But they want to get it right from the beginning. They know that they might have a predisposition to something. They know their mum might have challenges or PCOS or whatever it might be. They want to scaffold, there's that word again. Yeah. They want to scaffold their health so that they never, ever have to feel like that. And so, you know, I'm really passionate about, okay, it's about having these conversations. It's about course correction.
Yes.
And as we get older, the course correction has to happen more frequently. However, we have far more body wisdom.
Yeah.
So we can course correct more quickly than when we were in our 20s. You think about it, in your 20s, you probably would have let yourself have maybe years of terrible menstrual cycles before you actually did something.
Yes.
Whereas now you probably wouldn't allow it to go on. I hope you wouldn't anyway. Wouldn't allow it to go on for as long before you started to go, hang on a minute, I need to sort this out.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a rite of passage, I think, as a young person to kind of ignore things. That's just what we do. But I think that this course correction part of it is really important, and being able to now I will look back at last month to figure out what do I got to do for this month to make it better.
That's so good. Yeah.
And I think doing that also means that I don't have to get to a point where it's sort of like I feel horrendous.
Yes.
I can quickly change things. The other thing I love to say to patients is life is just a series of moments. It's just a moment in time. It's not a forever state. So you made a decision today that wasn't your best decision. It was just a moment. You ate something that it's just a moment. Doesn't mean you write the day off. You don't write the week off. It's just a moment and we move on. And so I think being able to be a little bit more flexible with those things helps us not to get bogged down by the wellness part of it, or the label and the expectations that we put around it.
Yeah.
It's just a moment. We're moving on.
Oh, I love that. That's a really really good mindset shift to be able to have in those moments.
I think
isn't
so,
it?
because
or
we
in
get
that day.
again, we feel like we're failing all the time if we don't do that.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a really great way to change our mindset around you're not failing, you're living, right?
Yes.
You're living and you're learning.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Failing, I think, is doing the same silly thing over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Without any self-awareness around it.
Well, just hoping that it's going to get better. I think that's what we do.
Yeah.
You can. I think hope is very important, but it needs to be hope with action, not hope just sitting there going, "I hope tomorrow's better."
Yeah, so true.
So these are the things that I've learned over time that I teach patients now that I think are extremely valuable. I spend the majority of my time helping people to regulate their nervous systems and calm down more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because we are so stressed about getting it right.
Yep, totally. So I've got two questions on that. Firstly, what are some of the warning signs that we should be? If people aren't overly in tune with their body, what are some of those kind of signs that we can start to look out for before things get dangerous?
Yeah, so I think, our body's always speaking to us, right? Yeah. Whether or not you're good at listening. So the first thing is actually bringing this into your awareness. What does that look like? Well, just because we're talking about this right now, I can guarantee whoever's listening is just going to automatically start to do this.
Yeah.
And it's being able to be conscious of how you're feeling in any given moment. So, you might be rushing somewhere and you're doing it's catching going, oh, I just did that. That's my body trying to regulate. Interesting. How do I feel right now? I feel stressed, or I feel overwhelmed, or I feel anxious. Okay, noted. How often do we just keep on going without actually checking in or acknowledging a feeling?
Yes.
I say to patients, I can't do anything when you're unconsciously stressed. But when I can actually get you to be conscious, oh, yep, I'm stressed right now. And all it is catching yourself in that moment going, I'm rushing. Okay, yep, okay, noted, I'm stressed. Or I have a headache. Okay, notice. Why do I have a headache? Oh, I haven't drank enough water. So it's just this awareness. And I promise you that if you've never ever done this before, just because I've actually now activated that part of your brain that's going to search this out, you'll start to become more aware of it. So I think that's a really good thing that we can do. And the other thing, to my point before, start to note things down. I have a headache, write it in your diary. I got my period on this day, write it in your diary. Write down little things that are occurring and start to see if they're cyclic, if it's happening as a pattern.
Okay.
Because again, even if you don't write down when you had your last period, you'll be like, oh, when did I have that? Hang on, and it just goes by the wayside.
Yeah.
Even though you know you had it.
Yes.
You don't know when you had it.
You can't remember when.
Right.
Yes.
So I think it's really important that we start to note take.
Yep.
So we've got that data or that feedback that our body's giving us, and we can look back on that and start to go, okay, actually, I'm getting a headache the day before my period every single cycle. What does that mean?
Yeah. Yes.
or little things that show up for us. You know, I'm breaking out after my period. What does that mean? Usually the period's a good score point, you know, or
Yep.
ovulation. Those peak hormone shifts, we tend to see symptoms at those times when
Okay.
we've got imbalances. So
Yep.
your body's always giving you the feedback. It's
Yeah.
time to just start to tune in a little bit and just be curious. That's all. It's not a
Yes.
hard, like, oh my gosh, I forgot to do this. It's just being curious around it.
Yeah. And it's so true. When you do start tuning into that, it becomes more natural to add that curiosity, isn't it?
You can't
Yeah.
not know it once you know this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
It's
you
so
can't
true.
unknow. So I think, again, it can seem overwhelming. You might never have ever tuned in, and I'm sitting here going, I'm course correcting every month, and you're like, oh my heavens. But I've been doing this for so long that I
yep.
can see. So it's just building layers.
Totally.
And that's that scaffolding again. It's like
Yeah.
building layers so that you get very good at tuning in.
Yeah. And I loved what you said though too around the checking in how you feel in every moment, because I know like days like this a few years ago I would have just been like coffee, not enough food, not enough water. I would come into the studio or like into podcasting and be like really dysregulated, and then would go home and be like, oh my goodness, those days are so exhausting for me. Whether I was like, hey, I actually love those days. I don't want them to feel like that. What is it that I need to do? And even before I came to go in, I was like, hang on, Maddie, stop. What do you need? Okay, I need some more water. You probably should get food too, because you're not going to eat now till after you pick up the kids. And it's just like these little moments that have allowed me now to recognize those signs of like, you're going to probably feel really fatigued soon if you don't have a meal.
Yeah, and not be at your best.
Yeah,
and why would we want
exactly.
to function,
Totally.
you know, at half capacity?
Yeah.
I don't want that for myself anymore. Having said that, I'm very, very good at overcommitting. Like I'm very good at saying, it's not even saying yes to too many things. I just want to do all the fun things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So being very purposeful around this now. And I was listening to a podcast the other day about how to politely decline. I know this is totally off topic, but
I love
this is
this.
so great, right?
It's still so fitting. Like,
And it was simply saying, I can't. No one's going to argue with it, right?
Yeah.
I can't, but have a great time.
So, all you need. No
All you
excuse.
need. We over-explain everything. We go down and so it's. I get very excited and proud of myself when I
Say no.
figure out where my energy needs to go and decline where it doesn't need to go. Sort of like, oh,
Yes.
so great. But it's so important.
It's so important. And it's such an important boundary to have. Like I always say that your energy is literally your currency. And I think about it of, if I'm going to spend my currency, I want it to make me richer and wealthier. So
100%.
it's like I'm going to put myself in the room, in the circles, in the environments, in the opportunities with people and things that are going to make me spending my currency richer.
Yeah.
And I think when we think of it like that, it's like everyone will say to me, oh, I didn't think of that. And I'm like, well, why are you giving your precious energy that you have a limited amount of to people or experiences of that don't actually deserve that?
I flip that and I say to patients, is it worth a precious release of cortisol? Is it worth it?
Good. Yes.
Right? Probably not. Save it for when you need it.
Yeah.
It's not a moment that you're actually needing it. And unfortunately, the nature of cortisol is it's bossy. It'll pull rank, but it means that you won't sleep well, you won't make good choices, you won't nourish your body well, and cortisol will rob from other hormones to make cortisol. So all of a sudden now you're hormonally imbalanced. It's not ideal. And many people are letting cortisol run the show. So it's great, exactly what you're saying when I'm like, is it worth a precious release of my cortisol reserves? No, it's not. It's actually not. And I think people will actually respect. I will often say, I haven't made time for that, or I can't make time for that right now.
Yeah.
That's the truth. So I think being honest around that, actually energetically what that does is shuffle things in a way that actually works for everyone's greater good. If I say yes to something that I'm half-hearted about or that I don't really have time for just to please somebody else, they're not going to get the best of me. So I'm really learning to honour that, and those boundaries are super important.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like I got really good at saying no from a really young age, but then I started to become a real yes person again. And this year I've started to be really strong on the nose again. Like, unless it's like lighting me up, I can't wait to see you or can't wait to do that. I'm just like, it's no deal for me.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah. And people do respect it. I think we all understand that we are limited with time and energy, and we all have, you know, we're all holding so much, you know, if it's businesses, careers, kids, list goes on, health, like you have to understand that people are willing, like have to say no to certain things. Yeah.
Totally.
In a culture that's really, I guess, has glorified hustle, and I guess a lot of the philosophy of this podcast is that there's a lot of people that love being in hustle mode, but, you know, really not letting your health be a compromise for that hustle mode. How do you kind of balance that, and how would you encourage other people to still be able to hustle, but to do it in that more healthy, grounded, sustainable way?
I love this question. My favourite thing to do is teach teenagers this, because I feel like if you can get it right from the beginning, you are going to actually really nail it throughout life. And we are so good at glorifying a stress state.
Yeah.
We are so conditioned to actually think, if I'm not stressed about getting a job done, I'm not doing a good job. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And I think that actually when you can be in your state of flow, you can actually work smarter, not harder, less hours, better outcomes. So how do we do that? Again, it comes back to that, firstly, that awareness and checking in, and really being able to, you've got to have that balance. I can't be the best person if I haven't slept, if I haven't nourished my body, if I haven't moved my body, and if I haven't had some time out. Like, I can't. It's not going to be the best version of me. You're going to get a foggy-headed, not probably paying attention. It just doesn't work. And it definitely doesn't. And having said that, when you've got a new project or you're doing something that really lights you up, you have different reserves. The trap is, if you're constantly doing things that you love, then you're going to very quickly fall into that. And that's the trap that I find myself falling into often, because my kid said to me not too long ago, Geordie, I woke him up one morning, I'm like, come on, mate, you've got to get ready for school. And he says, this is so unfair. You get to go and do everything you love every day. And I was like, where's the lie? Where's the lie? It's like, yeah, I do, mate. Actually, I really do. I get to go and do everything I love. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are things that I try to actually hand over things I don't love doing. Yeah. Because usually we suck at them.
Yes.
They're a low vibe task to me.
Yes.
And therefore they bring down my energy. So you've got to be able to check in with yourself if you are that type of person that is an entrepreneur, that does create kind of like your own magic, because you tend to go from one high to the next, to the next, to the next. And you do have to have those moments where you bring yourself down and you just have a good chill for a while. I think what I've also noticed is I will become out better and stronger when I do that. It can feel really scary to hit pause, like to stop doing something for a period of time. And so I think it's just trusting the process. You've got to actually test the waters and see what's the worst that can happen here. And what happens if I did come out better and stronger. And I mean, we went to Europe last year. Everyone that is listened to anything I do know is I left my laptop on the plane. I didn't get it back, and I was 4 weeks no work. Like the best thing that ever happened.
That's amazing.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, it was a bit annoying more than anything.
But like as in amazing that it was the best thing that could have happened.
The most annoying thing was that I didn't have anything saved on the laptop. The laptop was, it was just annoying that that happened, but it wasn't, nothing bad happened. I don't like using the word bad, but nothing happened. In fact, I came back, I was so chill, and I can't wait to create another moment. And you don't have to go to Greece for that to happen, by the way.
No, totally.
You can do that in your own home.
I actually did it this year again over Christmas. The first few years of, I guess, being in the online space or having a podcast, I always would delete Instagram over Christmas. And then I had a few years where I was like petrified that I wouldn't get it back. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll stop doing that. But this year I was like, you know what? I am so done with like having to just be showing up and being on all the time, like all the apps. I'm about to go into being a school mum. There's going to be more stuff I need to hold.
Oh my gosh, that's a full-time job, all the
It's
emails
a
that come
full-time
through
job.
us
It's
from
like
the school.
5 apps or something at the moment. I'm like, okay, guys, this is crazy. But giving myself, like I deleted Instagram off my phone, kept it on another old phone at home just so I knew that
Just
I had
in
it saved
case.
it. But just 2 weeks of not being able to go on it, not looking at my emails. It's like, it's so hard to then come back and think, wow, we've really conditioned ourselves to be wired of this like hustle mode on connected, you know, always consuming content, always giving content. And all of a sudden to be like out of that, it was so hard for me to step back in. How did you feel coming back in?
I mean, I got to use a different part of my creativity because I love creating content. And so I just highlighted the holiday and it was great.
Okay.
And parts that I wanted people to see, not, you know, every waking moment.
Yeah.
I was so worried that I was going to slip back into like crazy fast-paced like life.
Okay.
Also, in the lead up to any type of vacation or holiday, things are a little bit crazy, right? Because you're trying to, you know, cross all the T's and dot the I's. But I was more scared that I wasn't going to be able to continue to be chill. I'm like, I just want to be like this now.
Yeah.
How do I bring this into this next part of the year, the second part of the year last year? But the thing is, I now know I can go and just do that again.
Yeah.
And again and again and come back. And, you know, I think you have to have the ebbs and flows.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing that there are times where there's downtime, and especially for clinic practitioners, they'll often say, oh my goodness, freaking out, books aren't full, like what do we do? I'm like, that's your downtime. Don't freak out. Use it to your advantage. We often freak out when there's not anything.
Yeah.
And if we can switch modes and kind of go, oh, this is my downtime. Okay, thank you for giving me
Totally.
that. I think that that's something that we've learnt to do, especially in the clinic, is take that time and recoup. But you've just got to do it once.
Yeah.
And it gets easier and easier each time.
Totally.
And Greece wasn't the first time we'd done that. I mean, at Christmas, we close every year and we shut down everything.
Okay.
And this year we did that. We shut every business down for those 2 weeks, all of it. There was nothing.
Wow.
And that was, I just love that time so much.
Oh my goodness, that is so
It's
good.
I love the abyss that you enter and you're like,
Yes.
what day is it? I don't know. When did I
It's
eat
so
last?
true.
I don't know.
But I'm hungry now, so I'm going to eat again. It's so true. Now, when it comes to, I guess one of the final things I wanted to chat about is like gut health. So really interesting or funny, I, the other night, took a photo of my hand and uploaded it to ChatGPT. Do you know if you've seen this?
I saw your Instagram.
Gave this like crazy, it actually happened because I'd seen an app that was like promoting it and I did it and then it went to charge me and I'm like, oh, I'm not paying
could
for
do this
that. I'm going
myself.
to do this on ChatGPT. And it spat out the most thorough reading. It was so insane. And I think because I know myself on more of a like internal world, deeper level, a lot of the stuff that it was saying around my makeup, I was like, yes, like this is so me, the way that I am in my career. But one of the things that came up was actually health and how the line that I had was more around like digestive issues and like maybe being sensitive to gut health. And I'd just love to know like your take on some of these, I guess, more alternative strategies. Like if I came to you and said, Nat, I need your help. My palm's saying that I'm going to have digestive
What
issues.
is this telling me right now?
But, you know, when people do get really curious about themselves on a level of if it's like astrologically or on me doing the palm reading, what's your take on that?
I mean, I think our body's always giving us feedback, and I think traditionally we always used clues.
Okay.
So I don't think that's crazy by any stretch. I mean, in Chinese medicine, we look at someone's face, it can tell us all sorts of things.
Yes.
When we ask to look at your tongue, that's telling us all sorts of things as well about the internal landscape of your body. We feel your pulse. You can look at certain characteristics that stand out to tell you information about somebody's internal landscape. So, I mean, I don't know a lot about the palm, but that makes total sense to me that is probably its own diagnostic system that you can use, just like the tongue is in TCM.
Wow.
So, yes, you can tell so much. But I think, I mean, I've been practicing now for nearly 20 years. I'm very used to reading somebody. sometimes I'll walk past someone and I'll whisper to my husband, I just wish I could fix their ovaries. or, I just wish I could fix this, because I can see that in them.
Yes.
You get very good at being able to very quickly see what's happening
signs.
behind almost behind the window of the eyes.
And so what's something that you would see? Like if you're walking past someone, you're like, oh, I need to fix their ovaries. What's like one of the first things that you personally would see?
I mean, obviously there's some pretty standout characteristics with things like PCOS.
Okay.
Even someone that's malnourished,
Okay.
They're probably not going to be ovulating or have a menstrual cycle. Like you can see characteristically what's going on.
Yeah, wow.
Which is probably sounds a bit mean, but you can't help once you know you
No,
can't
when
not
you're so
know.
like you've been doing it for you say 20 years.
Yeah.
You're so
So
trained
like,
in that.
certain areas of the face where acne or rashes present themselves represents different things. So around the mouth is the gut. To your point, the question was about gut health, whereas more temporal and frontal is more kind of liver related, and then you've got spleen. Every area has a connection with the inside world.
That is so interesting, because even now if I get pimples, it's always around here, which
go.
then my palms.
Well, your palm and your face are telling you the same thing, but it's very, very interesting. And then obviously we've got other factors that play in. So cyclic, what's happening with our hormones, then we can see acne worse at certain times and better at other times that are in line with the cycle. So there's constant clues. We're not very good at listening to them. We've somehow dialed that down over time.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we've looked for a solution that's a quick fix, and we're not looking at a long-term solution. We're looking at the symptom. Okay, fix a symptom. Without thinking, well, hang on, why is that even there?
Yes.
So I always say to patients, always ask why. Whoever you're speaking to, whoever's giving you a diagnosis or their opinion, because at the end of the day, that's what you're getting is someone's opinion.
Yeah, totally.
Why do you think this is happening, or why is my body doing that? Keep asking why until you actually get to the core of the problem. We accept a treatment for a symptom without considering any of that, and then wondering why we've got to keep on doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yes.
We really need to dig deeper, I think, for long-term sustainable results.
Definitely.
And we're all unique, so that becomes a bit tricky, because what works for your girlfriend isn't necessarily going to work for you.
Yeah.
Yet you might do the same thing that she's doing because it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah,
I see this happen all the time, where women will say, "Oh, I did that and it didn't work." It's like, well, that could have been the worst thing that you did, because it wasn't actually appropriate to your presentation.
Yes.
Your symptoms and her symptoms aren't the same. So even though, for example, you both got period pain, how we treat the presentation of the period pain depends on the actual nature of the pain, when the pain happens, what the pain feels like. Is it better for pressure or worse? Is it better for cold? Like, there's all of these other aspects that we ask these questions about to then decide on, okay, this is what you need to do next.
Okay.
Whereas from a Western perspective, we just see period pain as period pain.
Yes, and we just treat that as a symptom versus, So you would go more deep, like a lot more deeper.
Yeah, so what's the feedback? What's, again, what am I getting? What's your tongue telling me? What's your face telling me? What's your complexion telling me? I wish I could read your palm, but I can't. I've never learnt that, but maybe I need to dive into that.
You can put it in ChatGPT and read yours.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the thing. Our bodies are constantly speaking to us, and we often misinterpret that as our body failing us.
Yes, totally.
And it's not. It's just signs.
It's signs, for sure. I think that's something I used to be so good at when I was younger, and I feel like I've really shifted away from listening to the signs. And maybe it's that excuse of like being busy or, having lots of balls in the air.
Yeah.
But it's like without our health, we have nothing.
We don't.
Literally.
It's just so true. Like, what do you have if you don't have that? You don't.
Yeah.
And that there'll be people listening to this today that'll be like, oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And it's not until the moment where it looks like that's actually a problem or it's going to be taken from you that you'll take it seriously.
Yes.
What do we have to do
To get to
to get people to listen and actually, and maybe it's, you've got someone's got a health scare in your family, so it promotes you to be a bit more proactive. But you don't need to wait for a problem.
Yeah.
It's how do we maintain health now so that we can be the best version of ourselves, feel great, look great, like radiate health. Like, that's what I want. I want to be able to be like, you look like you are glowing. Like, thank you. That's what I want.
Yes. I feel like that's like the biggest compliment, isn't it? When someone says like,
Yes.
you're glowing or your energy is so on point. I'm like, they are like the two best
I
compliments
was walking
you can
down the
literally
street
get.
on Sunday carrying a box of vegetables and like groceries, and I was walking along and this older lady was coming the other way. I'm going to say older. I reckon she would have been close to 80.
Yeah.
And she said, "You look so happy and healthy." And I was like, "Oh, happy and healthy? Is that like the best compliment that someone could actually give me?" Like,
Literally.
I was like, she's like, "You are bright." That's what she said. "You look happy and healthy and you're bright." And I was like, "Oh, thanks."
that is
thanks.
so nice.
But I was like, thank you. Ultimate compliment as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Like, especially at like 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. You know, I probably didn't like, I didn't just roll out of bed, but I probably wasn't like, dressed in my best.
I love that.
Yeah.
But it's so true. It is like getting that as a compliment, like nothing feels better.
Yeah,
really.
I know what I know what it feels like to feel unwell. I know what it
Yes.
feels like to have brain fog is one of the worst things. Like I can't say I've had it for very long, but when I've had it, it's been like, this is horrendous.
Yeah.
Like I don't want any of it. Like, what have I got to do so that I feel good?
Yep.
Constant
Yeah.
reassessment.
Totally. I love that. Nat, thank you so much for joining me. I have loved chatting to you and reconnecting. Where can everyone find you? Because I know there's probably going to be so many people being like, I want to invest in my health. How do I work
Amazing.
with her?
Well, Nat Kringoudis is everywhere, as in the name Nat Kringoudis is wherever you want to find me, not whether that it's everywhere. So Instagram, I love sharing information on Instagram. My website has got so much on there. And if you search something, so start there, search whatever it is you're looking for. And if you don't find it, you send us a message and you say, do you have information on this? And we'll create it because it should really be out there as something
Amazing.
we've created. And yeah, I just love creating spaces for women, whether it's podcasting. We've got a membership, which is a next level up where you can really have that handheld support.
Yeah.
But it's almost like I just want to create options for wherever you're at, to have that support.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely part of stepping into the Thrive era, isn't it?
Yes.
Really prioritizing your health. So thank you so much for all your wisdom and knowledge and your energy today. I've loved connecting with you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the great podcast that you create. I can't wait to listen to this next series that you're putting out there.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.